part two of this lesson, Slovakia. I was talking to my OG about something, so I had to cut the video short. So this is part two of this sit-down lesson for In the News on September the 19th, 2022 at 12:24 p.m. Central Standard Time on this Monday at noon. And so yeah, you have the as I was reading the news article of part one of this lesson. Now I'm continuing in part two of it. Now, as you see, the relations, because I did a previous video in regards to this, I think about a few days ago, in regards, China and China and Russia is definitely building up, their alliance with one another. Because I believe I did the video, like I mentioned a few days ago, on an economic scale. Now this is on a security, military type scale of cooperation with one another. So they're starting to increase and build up more and more. Amending the current tensions with the Russia-Ukraine situation, and then on the Beijing, China side, you have the tensions going on with Washington and Beijing and China and the United States over the Taiwan Sea. Tensions building over that as well too. So now you got Russia and China is clicking up with one another of cooperation, of more security ties, and more economic ties on both of the nations, as their relationship towards one another, it's starting to build up and increase now more than ever. This is the book of Mark, chapter 13, verse 8. As I mentioned, the tensions between the tensions between China versus the United States and Beijing and Washington over the Taiwan Sea. Then you got Russia, with the current tensions with the Russia-Ukraine situation. They got tensions with the United States for them continuing funding Ukraine, along with the Western allies as well too. And the reason why this increasing build-up alliance between Russia and China, because they aiming it towards the Western countries as well too, especially on the economic sense. How the way China and Russia getting hit with hard economic sanctions from the United States and its allies as well too. Especially amending with the wars over there, and tensions with over the China Sea and Taiwan Strait as well too, and with the Russia-Ukraine situation. So China and Russia has that economic allegiance with one another, and the extreme security ties with one another as well too. So they got each other's back, And as the article was saying, I believe they're gonna meet again, because they met with each other last Thursday. They had some type of event. I believe Iran was a part of it as well too. So China, Russia, and Iran, they building up that allegiance with one another on an economic scale and a military security scale as well too. Amending the tensions, with the wars that's currently going on, and the building up of tensions of a potential war, especially like a prime example with the Russian, especially like the over there in the South China Sea, because Joe Biden made that statement, was saying that because I did a video on it yesterday, Joe Biden was saying that he was gonna definitely going to defend Taiwan if that was gonna be a an invasion of the Taiwan Sea from China, because that tension is definitely growing even more and more. So that's why, China and Russia have that strong alliance with one another. So as you see, I read the article of, they have that high rank meeting, and I believe they're gonna meet again with each other for a 2-day meeting too, to build more increase of security ties with one another and economic ties as well too, And this is the book of Mark, chapter 13, verse 8, in regards to the tensions between, in the tensions between over there in the islands over there in Taiwan and China as well too, and the Russia-Ukraine thing. And refers to that, the scripture right here, Mark 13 and 8. We'll read it out again for edification's sake. For nations shall rise against nations, and kingdom against kingdoms. And there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrows, right? Because these are the beginning of stages of sorrows, especially with the increasing of wars and rumors of wars. Because like I mentioned before previously, you have these nations cooperating with one another against their adversaries, especially with the current wars that's going on and the upcoming pending wars as the tensions increase within the nations and different kingdoms as well too. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying for part 1 and part 2. So I want to continue part 2, because like I mentioned before, I was having a little important conversation with my OG. So I just cut part 1 of the lesson off and continue on with part 2 of the lesson. So hopefully part 1 and part 2, hopefully you was able to get some edification out of that. As you see hear these in the news on a daily basis of the nations cooperating with one another to go against their adversaries, for military protection, for economic protection as well too. And that's a prime example with the Russia and China situation, as they have a strong cooperation and allegiance with one another, with the current tensions with the Russia-Ukraine situation, and over the Taiwan Sea as well too, as those tensions starting to build up between China and Taiwan of a potential invasion of Taiwan, as China continues to warn the United States and its allies, and then Joe Biden sent that clear message saying, we will definitely protect, even if it's military action, we will be prepared to defend Taiwan once there be a possibility, when that happens, of China invades Taiwan. So yeah, these rumors of wars are definitely heating up. The conversations about it is definitely heating up. It's going to continue to heat up even more and more. That's why I brought out Mark 13 and 8 of the nations rising against nations and kingdom against kingdoms as well too. So with that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Makar Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. Shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. That be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom and a ball.